Good evening. My name is Crystal Lee, and I want to talk about my student and the strategy that I chose for him. So, I chose a comprehension constructor strategy, and this strategy is to be used during so that the student will be engaged with the text and that they will be able to self monitor their comprehension. And it will help them to summarize the text and verify and formulate predictions, which my child would greatly benefit from. I chose this to help my student with comprehension and remembering important details from the text. Anthony was finishing up his 8th grade year, but placed on an instructional level of 7. When asked his feelings on reading, it was not good. He didn't like reading, nor did he like to do it at home, but he did say that reading was not hard for him. He also said that he likes reading the books that they have at school, and he also likes picture books, and he does not like when people read to him. I would agree that reading on paper is not hard for him because he was awesome in recognizing words, but when it came to giving details and answering questions, this proved to be a challenge for him. So I chose this strategy to help him with the struggles that he faced while reading text. So I'm going to talk about the comprehension constructor strategy. And the definition of this strategy is a worksheet activity that teachers design to guide through a difficult text. And this strategy, the worksheet can be revised to go with whatever content area that you are trying to reach or whatever struggle that your student is having. You can revise the worksheet in any manner that you would like. So we would ask, why do we use this strategy for someone that doesn't remember details? Well, we would use this strategy because it helps the students to reflect and make sense of the reading. When you think about reflecting, it causes you to think deeply or carefully about what you are reading. And when you make sense of a reading, that means that you have a clear understanding of what is going on, who's involved, what they are doing, and so on. The benefits of this strategy is that it can be used with a narrative or expository text. Now, an expository text gets straight to the point, and some examples of those texts are textbooks, biographies, directions, and recipes. And they can also be used with the narrative text, which tells a story and are generally used with a lot of emotion, like fairy tales, myths, and legends. I think that using the narrative text would be great for my student because it has emotions, it has a story, it has complications, it has when and where the story is taking place, and it names all the characters. So I think that that would be a good way to introduce this strategy to him. Another benefit is that students are given a choice of using 3 active reading strategies. The first one is connecting, which brings the reader together with what the narrator is trying to say, and it creates a real link between the reader and the text. The second one is questioning, where you can express your feelings about your doubt or what you don't understand. You can raise objection, or you can challenge what the narrator is saying. And it also enables the student to use their creative critical thinking during questioning. The third one is visualizing. And this is just using a representation of object, something that you can use to create a chart that will help you connect with the text. So there's not that many materials that you need. All you would need is the text that you're going to assign to your students that day, and you would use your comprehension constructor worksheet with whatever area you are trying to teach on that day. So I want to just break down the steps of how to use this strategy. The first step is that the teacher would give a text, and as she would inform the students that as they are reading their text, that they will write down quotes that they feel are important to them and what touches them the most. To differentiate, some students may already have quotes on their worksheet from the text. This first step would benefit my student because he's able to write details down during his reading because he struggled with answering questions after he finished a complete reading. The second step is after appropriate amount of text have been recorded, the teacher has two options. She can either have the students exchange with a partner and they can respond to each other's quotes, or that specific student can keep his own word and respond to his or her own quotes. Because my students struggle with remembering details after the text, I would have him to respond to his own quote so that he can get a better sense of connecting with the story. The third step is for each quote, students choose to respond in one of three ways. How they make a connection, they can ask a question, or share a visualization. Lastly, student responses should be shared in small groups or with the whole class. And I think that my student would benefit from this as well because he would be able to hear what his peers have to say. Even if they wrote down the same quote, they probably don't have the same thought, and this will help him to think beyond what he feels a quote is saying. So I did an example, and I also attached the worksheet to my handout. This is how the layout of the worksheet would look. Comprehension constructor, it will be your name and title of text, and the direction in the left will be quote and page number, and then to the right of that it will be connection with a prompt that reminds me of, or they can raise a question, I wonder, or I don't understand, or visualization, which is a picture or symbol to represent a concept. I chose 3 quotes from the book Book Thief because half of us read that book. So the first quote that I wrote, one was a book thief, the other stole the sky, page 200. So I will put that quote and I will put the page number just in case I had a question about the quote I wrote down, or the teacher wanted to know where I wrote the quote from, or I wanted to look for more content to back what I felt up. I would always know where to go back in the text. I wonder what stole the sky means. And that would be my question. The second one is the book thief has struck for the first time, the beginning of an illustrious career. Page 119. So here, I just drew a picture of what I thought would be a little girl and a book. My last quote was, her brother was dead. So on the third line, my quote, her brother was dead, page number 24 would go here. And then this would be my connection quote. This reminds me of losing my brother. So I think that a student that is having a hard time remembering details would greatly benefit from this strategy because it connects them with the text. It causes them to think beyond themselves and to connect things that they have experienced throughout their lives. And it also helps them to use critical thinking skills. So even when their peers are talking, it allows them to hear what other students have to say about the book that they have discussed. Or if another peer disagrees, he or she can go back into the text and provide evidence to what they have said. So this is the end of my video. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed this strategy and that you will use this in your future classrooms. Thank you.